I'm Father William Miller, and I'm what's called the rector, or you could just say the priest, of St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church in Lihue, Kauai.
My name is Satchel Hamilton. I'm agnostic. I appreciate religion in the context of literature and culture.
My name is Elijah Kiefer. I am a New Age spiritualist and philosopher.
Gary Elwood. I'm a birth, married, and buried Anglican. I've been involved with the Church of England, which is in this country the Episcopalian Church, ever since I was born.
My name is Koa Hamilton. Well, my religion is I'm kind of interfaith. Since about 13, 14 years ago, I discovered the Hindu monastery, and I've been partaking in that, and I go to puja once or twice a week. Being raised, my mother studied Buddhism, so I had some Buddhist background, but then I've been also going to the Catholic Church for the last few years, and I go every Sunday, and I partake in the Catholic Church.
So I grew up in a more restrictive, sort of judgmental Christianity, more of a fundamentalist tradition.
I think largely, a lot of times, people are brought into religions by their parents, and they keep practicing it out of tradition, and it's just something that they keep doing. And I think that's probably kind of true of me too, of being an agnostic. It's just my parents were like that, and that's how they raised me, and so I kind of kept it up. But when I think about it, it makes sense to me. I don't, like I said, I don't really see any proof especially for an anthropomorphic, God in a white robe with a white beard sitting in the clouds. It doesn't seem to be any more cogent to me than Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or anything else. They're charming stories, but I don't believe them literally.
Yes, I believe in God. Yes, I believe in Jesus Christ as my own personal Lord and Savior. Yes, I believe that God is active in my life on a daily basis.
I do believe there is a good chance that there is something like God somewhere out there in the universe, but I don't know. I just don't think it's particularly important to engage in worship of Him. I think if God were truly all-loving and all-knowing, He would be more concerned with us being good people and living our lives in a way where we showed compassion for other people and we loved our neighbor. And so I believe tenets like that, that commandment of loving thy neighbor, I think that's a good thing. And I think when religion inspires that kind of nobility in people, I think it's a great thing. But as far as believing in God, I'm a very pragmatic, scientific kind of thinker, and I don't see the hard proof for it. So that's that.
No, I do not believe I can prove this to anyone else. However, isn't that the very essence of faith?
I do, but more importantly, God believes in me, and I believe that God believes in me, and so that's what really keeps me going, even in those moments where, my own understanding of life and God and cause and effect and reality, I doubt, I question, I don't get it, but I do believe in a loving God who is grace and forgiveness and who calls me and knows me.
I feel a great sense of wonder about life, and I believe there are many things that we haven't explained yet, and God may play into that, whether you want to call it, God or karma or magic or fate or whatever it is. I believe there is something out there.
All of us are at our core deeply spiritual people. I think that we long for an understanding, an appreciation, a relationship with our Creator. And I think this particular religion matters to me because it speaks to me, and I think it has something to say to the modern world. And I like the people. I really enjoy them. They challenge me intellectually. They're fun, they're life-affirming people. They care about each other, they care about the world, they care about the environment. They don't have to agree on everything. We can have different opinions on different issues and still hold core truths in common.
I think religion is a beautiful thing. when people use it as a means and as a reason to love each other and to engage themselves.
My religion really influences every aspect of my life. I mean, how I spend my time, how I view the world, how I view relationships, how I view the needs of the world, how I view other people. I see other people as, and this is a very Hawaiian concept, as possessing the ha, or in the Christian tradition, the image of God. You are created in the image of God. And so as I see that in you, as I acknowledge that in you, it informs and impacts the way I live my life and the way that I treat you.
I wouldn't call them irrelevant. They're relevant to the people who practice them. I don't want to besmirch that in any way. I think if religion works for you and if it helps you come to terms with the world you live in, if it helps you to love yourself and your family and the people around you, I say more power to you. So I don't think it's irrelevant to those people. As long as you're a good person, I think that's the most important thing. Religion is only relevant to me if you're not using it to better yourself and to better the people around you. If you're using it as a reason to do evil, to be intolerant towards other people, and to destroy their faith.
Our understanding of God, I think, is pretty limited. Now, I will say this about why bad things happen to good people and why God, quote, allows this to happen. A lot of people have tried to understand this and tried to explain it in the context of their particular beliefs and theology. I think more often than not, our attempts to come to terms with that and to explain it are not helpful. If a person is suffering, the person doesn't need to know, well, this is why you're suffering, because God decided that you needed to suffer. Now, one other thing I would say about why bad things happen to good people. There are some bad things that happen in this world that we are responsible for. We make poor choices. If we pollute the planet enough, if we do enough harm to our bodies, if we wage war against each other enough, there are going to be some bad consequences, and we can't blame a lot of those on God. However, I do believe there is randomness built into the universe. I don't know if that's by God's design, but I know that sometimes some really terrible things happen that really have no good or rational or reasonable explanation. I don't know. I do know that part of the story of my religion is that God was willing to suffer with humanity. And so that's the part of the story that is most powerful and most redemptive for me. I don't think this is it. I don't think this is the end. I think this is just kind of a slice of reality, and I think there is an eternal dimension to life. I think that in religious traditions we have attempted to describe heaven without knowing what heaven is. So anything that we say about heaven is going to be metaphorical, But I do believe that after this life ends, that's not all she wrote. There is more, that there is something eternal about us.
I believe in heaven. I call it the civilization of the universe. And it's what happens to planets that evolve beyond their nuclear decision threshold, where biological, nuclear, and chemical weapons of mass destruction would potentially destroy the ecosystem that they live on, and beyond that threshold, they usher into an eternal paradise in the cosmos and beyond.
It's really about love, and that's the main thing I think religions are supposed to teach us is love. And love is kind of what God is. God, you can think of almost like an ethereal being, and that is what God is love between us all. And we're all kind of manifestations of love. And when we get out of tune with love, then we go down that rung of the ladder and we kind of go into hellish realms. So you could be on earth and not loving, you could be in a hateful realm, and you could be mentally in a hellish realm because you're not a loving person, you're not a kind, loving person. But when you rise up and you're a kind, loving person, you're touching a little bit more Christ consciousness or cosmic consciousness.
After our earthly pilgrimage ends, I think that's a phase of the pilgrimage. I mean, I even believe that all of the really significant relationships that we have shared on this planet, I believe those will continue. Even with my dogs, as much as I love them, I believe that I will have a relationship with them at some point in the future. I don't know how that's going to look. I don't know if they're going to eat treats. I don't know if I'm going to, drink beer in heaven. I hope so, but I don't know what it's going to be like because I haven't been there. But I do believe there's something, and it's going to be good.
Of being somewhere up in the clouds that you go to. I think if there is a heaven, it's an abstract concept. It's not like a literal place you can go. It's not at so-and-so location, points of longitude and latitude. I think it's more of a state of mind. Even if you're a good person, I don't necessarily know that you're rewarded in the afterlife. I just don't know if it's that simple. Somehow I think ascribing to that system of belief of going to heaven if you're a good person and going to hell if you're a bad person kind of muddles the issue of being a good human. I don't think it should be so simple that you should, not saying that everyone who is religious is good just to get into heaven, but I think just even having that concept there kind of muddles the issue. It's such a simple system of you're rewarded if you're good and you're punished if you're bad. That's not how life works. Good people, bad things happen to them all the time, and sometimes bad people live their whole lives and they go unpunished for the things they've done. And I think that's just part of the chaos that's inherent in the universe. No, I don't think all good people are necessarily rewarded for it. I think being a good person is a reward in itself, and you should feel that when you do it. And as far as the bad people, I think that when you are an evil person, it is a punishment in itself because you're not feeling any of the love that's in the universe. You're absent from it, and it's absent from you.
Okay, evil exists. There's always a balance within the universe. If God is all-knowing, all-loving, all-caring, there's got to be an opposite that balances that somehow.
We have two choices today. We're going to either destroy the world, or we're going to survive and we're going to really thrive and learn how to populate other worlds, or are we going to have religion holding us back? So we want to use religion to push us forward.